Welcome, everybody, to Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette. We appreciate you joining us today on September 15th, 2025, as we're broadcasting live from the studios inside the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, Florida. And if you're like me, you've already felt in the air and seen a few signs of the colored leaves on trees and a little bit of cool weather, perhaps that this is the last week of summer 2025. And September 22nd, next Monday, we will be experiencing the first day of autumn or the autumnal equinox. And Marty Winkle, my co producer, chose this picture of our Gemini monuments with a little bit of color in the trees over here. And that's the VAB right there in the distance, 9 miles away from where this picture's taken. Brings about 10 miles away from where we're sitting here. Always a great sight to see on our coast here as I'm looking over every bridge over my shoulder to see where it is. Yes, the hot time of the summer 2025 is over, and those cool evening temperatures, some even in the 40s, has hit you up there in the north. Welcome sight, and we've even had a break here in Florida from the 90-degree weather and high humidity. And we're going to talk about that, the autumnal equinox, what that means, a few things from your elementary school education to come back in mind to you, like why is the earth tilted and what does that do to this weather thing. So um, we hope that would stick with us, as that's how we're going to end our program here. And let me tune in to everybody watching today around the fruited plain as we mash up some space shuttles in space in this week in space history. There's Dave Stengy and RG Jubilee. She says, let's get curious. All right, Rosalie, we will definitely get curious today and all week. Doug Forrest, good to see you there in Los Angeles. And Dave says that, yep, he's still in the 80s, though, and he was in the 90s in the football game in Kansas City yesterday. So, um, got a special shout out to one of our special sponsors and special people. He'll be joining us here in a few minutes, and that is Lake County Spaceport in Fox Lake, Illinois. There is the emblem created by the owner, Steve Jokums. And here is Lake County Spaceport's Facebook page, and there's also a Lake County Spaceport, Marty, a website that I didn't pull off the website. There's what the website looks like there. And what Lake County Spaceport is, the creation of this dreaming of being an astronaut. There's Steve Jokums, our great friend and financial supporter of the American Space Museum. He jazzed up the regular picture that they give you at Kennedy Space Center. Has got his name on the tag there. He looks like he's ready to load up in that shuttle and go to orbit there, Steve. We appreciate you and all that you do. And what Lake County Spaceport does is ad astra per firma, to the stars through modeling. All right. Steve has dedicated over almost 50 years of his life as being a serious modeler of space vehicles and, of course, other things. And what he created a business for was to make decals for the International Space Station solar panels, as well as the thermal protection system for the shuttle. You can't paint that stuff on there, so you need a decal for it. So there he's got some decals that he'll sell you. And one reason why we are promoting Lake County Spaceport and all that it has to offer, and this is just a sample of it, is Steve Jokums has pledged, here he is back there, a percentage of his business to the American Space Museum each year. And that has amounted to over $1,000 from time to time. So Steve also has supported us with making patches that we still have plenty of for Shuttle Fest. decals and other things that he's done. He even made some custom models of the Hubble telescope that we had on display at last year's Shuttle Fest 4. So if you're inclined to be a modeler or know somebody who is, please direct them to Lake County Spaceport. Uh, Again, these are unique ways to make your shuttles even look more authentic. Like this one that Steve did there. Gorgeous, gorgeous model. As you look around what he has there, he says that's Atlantis there. And looks like the real thing to me. He's got the whole stack on the mobile launch platform. All right. And he loves the flags of the orbiters that flew back in the day. And Steve also made a model of the Desky. And Marty, we're having work, my co-producer Marty on their Streamlabs there. Marty, you've seen the Desky many times in the lunar modules as you were the lead electrical engineer for Grumman on those. And looks pretty good, doesn't it, Marty, in there? Particularly, well, there's the Saturn V rocket that looks like a photo taken at night. It's so realistic. And there's the Desky on display that Steve has loaned to the American Space Museum. Looks pretty good, doesn't it, Marty?
Oh, it looks authentic to me. I mean, it's excellent.
Yeah, excellent. I don't see Steve chiming on there, so hope he catches this later if he doesn't. Giving him some well-deserved love for his support. And yes, we put a plea to, if you want to donate some money to help us clean up after our small kitchen fire that was a near disaster that we were glad it wasn't. Steve jumped right up and made a nice donation to us to help defray some of those costs. And you can too by going to our Facebook or our website and going up to our PayPal there, or call the museum, give us your credit card, and we'll be happy to take your help for what's going to be probably a pretty expensive cleanup of all the smoke that landed on the artifacts. You really can't see it, but it's there, right, Marty? And anyone that's been in a fire knows that it's not a happy thing, particularly the smoke damage. Thank God we put the fire out and there was no water damage in the place here. So, yep, your Desky looks awesome there, Steve Jokums, in our Apollo Gallery display there. That's got a very unique, well, let's see here. What is beside there? You've got these dials that were used as sort of a point of reference in time of the mission to what should be going on. That's very unique. And the yellow panel there has a piece of Velcro from Apollo 13's Odyssey, and signed by all three Apollo 13 astronauts and the launch director, Walt Capron. All right there. So we've got you displayed there, your Desky, and we really appreciate it there. So, and we appreciate everybody joining today. Carlton Bailey, want to see if Carlton can come and do the show Tuesday or Wednesday that we had to postpone because of our little fire. So I'll call you afterwards, Carlton. Good afternoon to Gary Gerald, and he's probably having some leaves changing a little bit in this last week of summertime. Marty, you got something there?
No, other than you just said Tuesday and Wednesday for Carlton, but you have Verderami coming in Wednesday.
Should have who?
You have, forget his first name, Verderami. UFO guy.
Oh, he's talking at the Astronomy Club.
Oh,
He's going to be
here.
We got Ken Verderami's going to do a UFO program on the 28th, the last week of the month here. Astronomy Club is here Wednesday, and he's going to do a warm-up of it there. So, yep, you're going to get your UFO on from a guy that I'm pretty convinced he knows what he's talking about. How about you, Marty? Ken Verderami. Yeah, we're going to promote Ken when we get him on here next week. So, all right. Well, thank you, Steve Jokums, and your Lake County Spaceport up there in Fox Lake, Illinois. That's west of the great city of Chicago, up there on Lake Michigan. Well, we love talking about the shuttles of the month, and we have 11 beautiful shuttles launched in the month of September. Here's their their logos, each one with deep meaning. Columbia and Challenger were shut out in the month of September. They never launched in that month in the 30-year legacy of the shuttle. Atlantis and Discovery were each launched 4 times, and Endeavour 3 times, totally 11 missions. And we've got two sets of shuttles were launched on the same day, 64 and 115 on the 9th of the month, and 3 on the 12th of the month, 48, 47, and 51. Now, 48 was launched in 91, 47 a year later in 92, and then STS 51 in 1993. So each year on the 12th, those workers at Kennedy Space Center were launching a shuttle rocket. Tomorrow will be the 1996 launch of STS-79, a Russian Mir space station mission. 2 Mir space station missions, 2 ISS hard hat missions, 5 science payloads, 1 Space Lab J for Japan, that's STS-47 in the middle there, and 1 tracking data and relay station payload, TDRS. And I'm hoping to get Don Thomas in here and talk about the TDRS satellite that he deployed on one of his missions. And Marty, there's a lot of we met astronauts, and there's a lot of astronaut books out there. And over the weekend, you asked me what I did. I didn't mention to you. I started reading Don Thomas's book. Okay, Orbit of Discovery for the All Ohio Crew, and you got to be careful what you say about astronauts, because you can be pretty stupid, particularly when they wrote a book and you don't know some basic things about them. So, Marty, did you know or ever hear that Don Thomas has a twin brother?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I read the book.
Oh, you read the book. Okay, you read the book before me. Well, he's fraternal twin like you and your brother. And he's got another brother and a sister, just like me. Three of our siblings, 3 were boys, 1 was a daughter. And yeah, I'm very impressed with the tenacity of Don Thomas. He had to make a whole career change after he's rejected as an astronaut. But we can compare notes on that, Marty, later. But yep, I'm trying to read up on some of the astronaut books, and frankly, I kind of read them at the beginning a little bit, and then I start skipping around. And as I skip around, I find the things that I need to know about. But Don is pretty much an expert on the tracking data and relay satellites. He deployed one. He learned everything about it, the deployment, and he'd be the right guy to talk about these important communication satellites orbiting the Earth right now, sending back data from all of our science missions as well as the International Space Station. Well, there's Jacqueline Murakami, better known as Chris Callie's on there, and he said Marty knows all. So of course he does. He's he's older than me. So and great to see Mitch Rothman up there back in Colorado. Man, he's lucky, because when those aspens change up there, there's no gold color like it shining on the face of the earth, I guarantee it. So, well, what we're going to do is look at the shuttles of the month here in a little bit quick, different way. I'm not going to belabor all of the missions and stuff today. I'm going to ask you, what do these songs all have in common for the month of September? We've got Bare Necessities there, the famous Disney movie there. We got Perry Como in the middle. Who remembers Perry Como out there except for Marty and me? And how about the marching band of University of Connecticut there? All right. And then you got Lady and the Tramp and the Eagles Hotel California. How in the world can I mash all of those up? All right. Well, they all are common on these missions here. 60, you got STS 48, 51 orbiting the Earth now. Now, if we look at the bottom, you've got the month of here. Here it is, the 15th. So you got 69, 106, 64, 115 on the 15th. 48, 47, and 51 are all orbiting Earth. And tomorrow we add STS 79 to it. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8 space shuttles orbiting the Earth at one time, not at one time, in space history, imagining at one time. And that is something like 47 astronauts can say that they were orbiting the Earth. Now, Marty, what is interesting to me is when I talk to astronauts, particularly ones that just had maybe a couple missions, I would remember that week of the year that I was in space, all right? And you know what? Many of them do not. Many of them are maybe so busy with what's going on, being astronaut appearances and taking care of their families, that I've asked and talked to several astronauts. Mike Baker's one of them. You were in space this time in 1996, this week of September, and 9 times out of 10 they'll say, "Gee, I didn't think about that." But I certainly would, like Christmas week or Thanksgiving week or whatever. So, but here we had all these missions right now, these beautiful shuttles of the month. You got 69. You got 106, all right, going to the Mir space station. You've got, which one is that one's? I didn't write them all down. Is that one? That's not 115. There's 115 there. That other one was 51. And the upper atmosphere research satellite mission, very important to the database of what's going on today, and MCS 47. Well, on these missions, we had the wake-up call. The morning wake-up call, the traditional wake-up call, started with Gemini and carried on in the Apollo era. They would wake up the astronauts with sometimes a song that was related to the mission, and sometimes it was a request song. All right. So here we have the wake-up songs from 1991. STS 48 was Bare Necessities, played for Ken Reitler's daughters, who were in Mission Control Viewing Room. And then in 1993, on September 15th, the wake-up call to STS 51 was Don't Let the Stars Get in Your Eyes by Perry Como. That's a fun song. Don't let the stars get in your eyes. Ba ba da 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 da. Catchy little tune for Perry Como, who's one of the crooners of the 50s and 60s. Lady is a Tramp. He's a Tramp on STS 69. Now, that was the all dog crew, okay, Dog Crew 2. So that was appropriate that they had a dog theme wake up call there. And then you had STS 106, and I'm going to need some help here from one of you, from Tom Celentano remembers maybe, of what astronaut was from Connecticut on 106, that the wake up song was the University of Connecticut's fight song. Okay. Let me consult the scroll here. The shuttle scroll. Let me fetch the scroll and see 106. Who was a Connecticut born astronaut on 106? And boy, they're really jumbled up at this juncture. 106 was, wow, after 99 and 101. Wilcott, Altman, Lou, Malenko. He's a Russian. Mastracchio. I think, where's Rick Mastracchio from? And Dan Burbank, the second Coast Guard astronaut. One of them has got some ties to Connecticut, and Tom Celentano is going to tell me it's Rick Mastracchio. Okay, thank you, Tom, for that on there. And there's Steve Jokums. Rewind there, buddy. We just gave you a lot of love about your Lake County spaceport, and actually saw you suited up in the pumpkin suit there. So you want to check that out at the end of the show here. Thank you for all you do, Steve Jokums. And then, yes, STS 115 Joe Tanner requested Hotel California by the Eagles. And I mentioned to Joe in an email that he was in space this week. And I got a nice reply back from Joe. He's been enjoying life as he should. So there's the five wake up calls on this date. Couldn't find the wake up calls for the other orbiters up there. I'll work on it also. Um, and Celentano says Dan Burbank was also born in Connecticut, though he thinks he was raised elsewhere. So I love juxtaposing things like that on there and in space history to keep us fresh with what the space shuttle did for 30 years, one of the most daring adventures to space. It took so many people to space that would never have had an opportunity to, from a dozen countries that couldn't afford a space program, to astronauts who didn't have to go through all the rigors that the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo astronauts did, and basically take a seat on what was going to be a space truck. Never materialized to that extent, but nonetheless, we honor them always. So, well, on this Monday, this last week of summer, like I said, many of you people will look up this week, seeing the crisp images of stars in this spectacular moonless couple weeks that we're going to have here. And the days are getting shorter. Okay. The sun is moving further south in the sky. And this puts a smile on stargazers, but not so much for the tennis players, the golfer, and the gardener who are drawn inside early. All right. The sun begins to catch those glass prisms in our southward facing windows, and the sun catchers tossing around the beautiful rainbows inside our rooms. That's another sure sign that autumn's on the way. But next week, September 22nd, Autumn Equinox. And oh my gosh, I forgot to put a slide in there that I worked out. Doggone it. Well, that'll be nonetheless. I'll post it on Facebook anyway, and I'll use it later in the week. Next week's September 22nd Autumn Equinox not only gives us a balance of 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, but again, daylight is losing its grip as the night takes over. That's why we call it the Autumn Equinox, equal day, equal night, and the spring equinox is the same. The sunrise this week is around 7:10 a.m. and sunset at 7:30. But as the sun keeps moving further south each day, the nights get longer by 4 minutes, all right, until December 22nd. So we're losing 4 minutes of daylight every day until December 21st, then when we start adding on, because that's the peak of all this. Well, I want to help you understand that the four seasons are the result of the Earth's tilted axis and not anything to do with the distance from the sun. All right. In fact, many of you would be interested to know that the sun is furthest from the Earth is furthest from the sun in mid-June, 95 million miles, and closest in mid-January, 91 million miles away. Well, that doesn't make sense. The sun's our source of heat. Yes, it is. But because our Earth is tilted, that changes everything. And that change is caused by direct and indirect sunlight. As we look at this graphic here of the sun, and as the Earth goes around it, we've got a little spike through the Earth's tilted axis. Something knocked the Earth over from straight up and down, and we are knocked over by a 23.5 degrees, all right? The Earth orbits the sun. There's a period when our northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. That's summertime. And then a time when we're tilted away from the sun. So over on the right side is where that would be summer on the northern hemisphere because we are tilted towards the sun. On the left-hand side here, we're tilted away from the sun. And this has to do with the indirect and direct rays of the sun being hotter. And I always use this example. You don't go out and get a suntan from 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock, all right? The sun, as you feel it on your body in the summertime, is not that hot. But from 11 to 3 o'clock, it's more directly overhead. Those sun rays are straight up and down, and they're absolutely hotter as the rays are piling on top of each other. And then from 3 to 6 o'clock, you don't say, I'm going to go get a suntan from 3 to 6 o'clock. No, the sun has moved in the sky because of the Earth's rotation. The rays are indirect, all right? The heat is spread over a longer area, and you don't get that fried skin of a suntan, all right? So, the first day of summer, of course, is around June 21st or 22nd, and that's when the sun is highest in the sky. As here we see the indirect rays and direct rays as they hit the tropics, these lines on the Earth that we call the tropics, all right? We transpose these arcs of our sun across the sky, and here's the arcs of the sun, okay? That is the arc that it takes in the winter at the bottom. The equinox is in the middle. And at the top, the arc that it takes much higher in the summertime. And as I said, maybe those sun catchers weren't catching sunlight and the rainbow hitting on your walls until maybe this week or next week even, as the sun's getting lower in the sky. Well, you transpose these arcs of our sun across the sky onto the surface of the Earth, and we get the Tropic of Cancer, which is 23.5 degrees north of the equator for summer solstice, and the Tropic of Capricorn, which is 23.5 degrees south of the equator for the winter solstice. That's why they're 23 degrees south and north, is the tilt of the Earth. That's where the sun appears to be on certain dates of the year. And of course, this imaginary line that the sun makes on Earth is at the equator for the 2 spring and autumnal equinoxes there. So that's where those tropic lines on the schoolhouse, on your schoolroom globe of Earth comes from. And that's why our globe is always tilted at 23.5 degrees. It's not for visual effect. It is a real thing that affects life here on Earth. It was thousands of years ago when ancient stargazers noticed how the sun's arc across the sky moved during the seasons from north to south in its daily motion of east and west, of rising in the east and setting in the west. And in those ancient days, 1,000 years ago, the solstices saw the sun in the Cancer in the summer, in the spring, and Capricorn, in the summer, and Capricorn in the winter. Thus, those imaginary lines, like I said, were called the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Well, because the Earth wobbles on that 23.5 degree tilt like a toy top, and it does, that axis of pointing out and south wobbles around a big arc, 26,000 years it takes to wobble around once. So our North Star was not the North Star 5 years ago or 5,000 years ago. All right, there was a star in Draco the Dragon that was the North Star, and the pyramids are aligned to that in Egypt. So the celestial sky moves, all right. The 21st century autumn equinox finds the sun in Virgo, and the spring equinox has the sun in Pisces, all right. And if we were renaming the lines that define the tropics, the north point would be the Tropic of Gemini, and the south line would be the Tropic of Sagittarius, because that's where the sun is on those days of the solstices. Now, like I said, the temperatures of the season, and here's a shot of the low sun uh, in the polar areas there, land of the midnight sun. Uh, the fact that we're further from the sun in mid-June, 95 million miles, and closest to the sun in January at 91 million miles has no bearing on the heat on the Earth. All right, it's all about the tilt of the rays, like I said. Uh, Now that's why the southern hemisphere seasons are just the opposite above the equator. And Cliff Watson, glad that you're watching, my friend. He's experiencing the last days of winter, and he is transitioning into spring down in Pomona, Australia. All right. Equinoxes, solstices, they are words that we use freely when the season merits, but we give little thought to actually what's happening. So these visual tools that I gave you, like the classroom globe of Earth, has a lot of meaning behind those invisible lines that are appropriately tilted for the season. So this is the last week of summer of 2025, and as we're looking at those sun catchers there, the sun sets around 7:30 p.m. this week. It's rising around 7:15. They're going to equal out to right around 7:25 sunrise and sunset next Monday, the 22nd. What I enjoy is going out in these nice, cool, crisp evenings and enjoying the cacophony of insect sounds, becoming a musical score for the beautiful transition of sky colors that the twilight has to offer. It's dark by 8:30 p.m. and perhaps you're out there enjoying the stars coming out as the canopy of summer stars are transitioning to the stars of the autumn. All right. And then finally the stars of the winter that are gloriously filled with the most bright stars of any season. So um and but it's quite a fun transition, and it comes quickly. One of my favorite places that I lived was on the river up here, and where you could actually see the sun march up in the summertime past the vehicle assembly building and then march back past the vehicle assembly building. And when I noticed the sun rising today, it was way south of the vehicle assembly building. And I'm saying, yep, those 90-degree days are almost over here, that we saw about 100 of them this year. I don't think we ever hit 100, Marty. Again, I don't think we've hit 100 here in a couple years. But we certainly hit mid 90s every day for about 2 months. So I hope that you all enjoy a little bit of stargazing, celestial knowledge with the juxtaposing today's wake up calls on our 7 shuttles that are orbiting the Earth at this point in history. So, and hope that you're all enjoying in your own way the cool weather. It's a great time to get out, like I said, and enjoy the sights and sounds of autumn. And the best way to do that is on a lawn chair, get your eyes dark adapted, have you a beverage with you, maybe a snack, so you don't have to go inside and your eyes get ruined by the bright light once they adapt to the dark. And what is going to be as fun is there's so many satellites, and many of us live near airports. There's always something in the sky moving around to make you wonder, I wonder what that is, until you figure out that it's an airplane. And you still might see a few fireflies flecking around there. So thank you all for watching Stay Curious today. We've got some guests lined up Thursday. Maynette Smith, a space worker. I'm looking forward to Maynette on Thursday. And we're lining up some other guests throughout the week. Carlton there saying that he might be available next week. So we'll definitely get him on to talk about some of the launches that he covered and an important payload that he saw in the White Room recently that's going to be launched soon. So thank you, Marty, for a great job. We need anything to button up over there?
Nope, looking good.
All right, let's go out with the great emblem here of Steve Jokums and his Lake County Spaceport there, and remind y'all just to go and check him out there. His Facebook page, his website. Uh, you will be impressed with the quality of models there, and if you're a modeler, you'll be happy what Steve does to make some of your decals easy. And by the way, Steve Jokums, thank you. He has caught on with our Shuttles of the Month and featuring them on his Facebook page, and we certainly appreciate that, Steve, as he is a great supporter and gets what we're doing here and shares it freely. So thank you, Cliffy Watson. Glad that you're warming your toes up there, brother. And you're going to have to get your ticket for Shuttle Fest 5 in June. So we can't wait to see you here. So once again, we can't wait to see you in our museum. And I'm Mark Marquette, and I can't personally wait to see you tomorrow on Stay Curious to bridge the space between us. Thank you for watching.